Hey everyone, it's Jeannie, and today I am sharing 3 cards using the iCrafter Puppy Love die set. iCrafter actually has 2 animal dies in their shop, and one is Feline Happy featuring cats and Puppy Love featuring dogs. Originally, I had intended to use both of these sets for the video, but I ended up focusing on the dogs. For all my die cutting, I am using a piece of Nina Solar Crest 80-pound cardstock and backing it using the scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive roll. I like to use this set because it's kind of thick and the dies won't cut through the backing. So this way it kind of maintains it as a sticker. So I won't lose any of the small pieces such as the little eyes, nose, or tails because everything will just be held in place. So you'll see that I already had die cut the cats, but I'll use that for a later project since today we're just focusing on the little doggies. Since this adhesive helps to maintain the die cuts in place and I'm only using white cardstock, I'll be using the sticker release paper to hold the pieces in place while I color them up using Copic markers. The sticker release paper is from an Avery label. I have a ton of these from my past job and I just don't use them. So I removed the labels and I'm just using the release paper to hold down my pieces. So I can remove them from my white cardstock piece, color them up separately, and then return them to its original location until I decide to put it onto my card base. For my Copic coloring, I am treating it the same as coloring a stamped image. The die cuts come with an outline part, and it is a little trickier to color only because all these pieces are one at a time, and I have to keep looking back to see where the outline is and where the shadows should be. But mainly I'm adding the darkest color to add shading on the edges of all the different little pieces and then blending it out with my mid-tone and then my lightest color. You definitely don't have to do this, but one of my pet peeves with die cutting is when there are a ton of different pieces and then you have to pull out a bunch of different colored cardstocks and then run it through the die cut machine a bunch of times to get all the different pieces so you can put them together with all the different colors. And I think that you can look back at my past videos, and I do this a lot where I die cut out of white paper and I just color it up because I find it a lot easier than having to run it through my die cut machine. I do have the Gemini Jr. and then I have like the small Sizzix Sidekick on my table, but I still, even though it's mini and I can run it through and it's not as big as the Gemini, it's still such a pain. So I tend to prefer just coloring them up using Copic markers. If you like die cutting and having all those different pieces and putting them back together, I know it's therapeutic for a lot of people. You can feel free to do so, but I thought it'd be really fun just to color them up and add that dimension that you just can't get with colored cardstock. So I am just going to go ahead and color up one of these doggies for you to see. There's nothing very different from my typical coloring. This video seemed short, but it ended up being pretty long, so I cut a bit out of it. I think that the only part that I might have had a bit of trouble was to put the doggies together on my card base because there are a lot of large open spaces. The outline kind of shifts a little and kind of molds in a different way. It doesn't go to its original form, and it also might be because I'm using 80-pound cardstock, which is a little bit thinner, but it worked out in the end and it was pretty easy to fix. So for the outline, I just went in with my black Copic marker, which is number 100, and colored it up. So it kind of even just looks like a stamped image. For my backgrounds for all 3 cards, I decided to do a very subtle light background. I pulled out Honeybee Stamps Whimsical Heart Stencil. I'm using the newest colors of Distress Inks, and they are Speckled Egg and Kitsch Flamingo, which is so pretty. I love blue and pinks, and when blue and pink mix together, they make this really pretty purple. It's really, really light, and that's why I intended to do. I didn't want to take away from the doggies, and these hearts could be overpowering because there's so many in a condensed space, so I went with the light. Also, for my sentiments, I decided to do an ombre red for all of them. So I will go in with my Copic marker, just color it up. It's really easy to do. I just do it over top a piece of white cardstock so I don't get Copic marker everywhere on my glass mat. These 3 cards are very cohesive. and they all look like they belong together. So I definitely have fallen in love with creating card sets. The more cards I can make at one time, the better, because as you have your supplies out, you might as well. And I am really happy with how these cards came out. For all the three cards, I kind of already had an idea of where I wanted to place the dog, where I wanted to place the sentiment. So some of them are horizontal and some of the cards are vertical. And once I have all the sentiments colored in my Copic markers, I'll put them together. So for the first dog, I will only be showing this first card because it's pretty straightforward. You just put the dogs onto the card and then add the sentiment, glue everything down, and bam, you have your three cards. But I did want to show how I dealt with the outline because it does shift a bit in the larger space where it just moves. And I don't know if it's because I use 80-pound cardstock instead of something a little bit thicker, but I think that with any delicate outlines, they will shift and you'll kind of have to mold them back to the original form. I started out with all the smaller pieces and I didn't really realize that the outline would move around until I got to the dog's main body. So here I am realizing that it doesn't really fit, and I was like, wait, why? And so I removed that leg because I didn't press everything down yet. It's not permanent. And so I'm able to carefully pick up the outline with my tweezers, and then I'll put the dog's body part down first, and that way I can move the outline to really fit around the body, and this will be its original form. So if you were die cutting straight from a piece of paper or whatever, this would be the shape of it. Once I did that, I went and added the little legs, and then I'm going to go and add the sentiments. The sentiments are all from different places. This particular one is from the pop-up wiper insert. I'll have all my supplies that I use listed down below. But this was a sentiment that is actually two parts, but I put them together and I don't think you can tell that it was separate in the first place, and it works really well. All the other sentiments, the hello is from Hello Flower, and then the last sentiment, which has layers, is the Happy Birthday Wiper insert. I just pulled them from different places. I used white cardstock because I wanted it to match exactly with the dog's collar. All three cards are trimmed down about 1/4 of an inch and matted on red cardstock. So yeah, that's it for the three cards. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time with another one. Bye!